One day closer to Thanksgiving. Yay! Yesterday, we read the story of the Pilgrims, and we learned about a Native American named Squanto and how he was a friendly Native American and he really helped them. Do you remember what he helped them farm? They dropped the dead fish in the hole and put the corn on top to help it grow like fertilizer. Well, today we're going to focus on Squanto, Squanto's journey. And pay attention because you're going to write another fact down like you did yesterday. Okay. My story is both strange and true. So this story is telling it like he's talking to us. I was born in the year the English call 1590. It's a long time ago. My family were leaders of the Patuxet people. Patuxet, sorry about that, people. And I too was raised to lead. But in 1614, I was taken to Spain against my will. Now it is 1621, and I am again in my homeland. My name is Squanto, and I would like to tell you my tale. Sorry, I messed up that word. I remember that day in 1614. White men had come often to fish in our bay. John Smith was one of the English captains. He and his officer, Thomas Dermer, traded with us. The other captain was Thomas Hunt. "Come to a feast on my ship," he said. More than 20 of us went aboard to share food. But he was no friend. He set sail, taking us with him as captives, so he kidnapped them. Left behind were our families, our homes, and our people. He was kidnapped with his... Soon we were crossing the wide salt waters. Hunt took us to Spain. There we were sold as slaves. Whew, he's having a tough time. But men, who they called themselves brothers, who freed us from our chains. Yes. I learned more of their language. I told them what I wanted most. I wanted to return home. With his help, I went to England. English ships often sailed toward the sunset, and I realized that if I could be of use to the English, they might take me with them. Fingers crossed. It took much work, but I learned the language well. In March of the year 1619, I sailed back to New England to the side of my friend Thomas Dermer, one of John Smith's officers. Englishmen and their ships were now being attacked when they came to shore. Perhaps if I accompanied them, I could speak with the Indians and they could trade in peace again. "Were there this many people," he said, telling me of great illness in New England brought on by white traders. "Now only this remained." He folded all back but 2 fingers. Only 2 people were left. It proved, as he said, the sickness had come down and only a few people survived. My wife, my children, my parents, and all those closest to me were gone. His family all passed away. That's got to be hard. First he was kidnapped and then his whole family dies. Together, Thomas Dermer and I did our work. We made friendly contact, and more than once my words saved the life of my English friend because the Indian spoke a different language, so now he was like able to translate. Peace seemed close. But Epinah viewed the English as a mighty, deadly serpent. When we reached the island of Capewalk, Epinah and his warriors attacked us. Many English were killed. Thomas Dermer was wounded, but with my help, he was able to escape. I was taken captive again and given to the Pokanock as a prisoner. Jeez Louise. Where's Samoset? That November, the Mayflower, see, now we're getting the story, reached shore. They watched. "Befriend the English," I said. "Make them come to understand and support our people." So first we heard it from the Pilgrim's point of view. Now we're hearing it from Squanto's point of view. Then Samoset came to visit. There we go, Samoset. He was another nice one, remember? He had done much trading with the English and he knew some of their language. The next day, March 16th, Samoset strode into the English settlement. "Welcome, English," he said in their language. The English placed a coat around his shoulders to warm him. They invited him into one of their houses. They gave him water, biscuits, butter, pudding, and cheese. "The food was so good," Samoset said to me later. "I decided to spend the night." When he left the next day, he promised to return with a friend who spoke their language well. So it was that 5 days later, I walked Samoset back into my own village. I looked around me. Though much was changed, I knew that I had at last returned to the land of my home. "Perhaps these men can share our land as friends," I told him. Now we get a whole different point of view from the first Thanksgiving. "They freed me to be a guide and an interpreter for the English. I also had many things to teach the white people about survival, which we learned already. They knew little of hunting and almost nothing of planting. Use the small fish that wash up," my nose is itchy, "on the shores," I told the English. "Bury those fish in the earth and they will feed the corn." I showed them how to plant the seeds of corn and beans and squash together in the hills. And I came to see that these pilgrims could be our friends and we could be theirs. A good harvest was brought in this fall. Some of the English crops have not done well, but the corn, beans, and squash have done well. As I look at the beans growing up out of the stalks of corn, I feel hope for our children in the seasons to come. With our help, the English have learned enough of hunting and fishing to provide food for a great feast such as this one, a feast for all our people. We know what that is. Do you remember how many days it lasted? Now as we eat together, I give thanks. I have seen more in my life than most men. I have seen death and life. I pray that there will be many more such days to give thanks together in the years that follow. Which came true because we always celebrate Thanksgiving. Let's see if I can get a good shot of this one. Lots of different kinds of foods. Some of the foods we still eat and some of the foods we don't eat anymore. I am Squanto. So the theme of this story is how just because you're different doesn't mean you can't be friends and help others, right? So that is a story of Squanto's journey from his point of view. We sure did learn a lot more about him and his tough life, but he persevered and he came through. And in the end, we get to celebrate Thanksgiving because of the Pilgrims and Squanto. That was a great story. So now what you're going to do is you are going to take your paper from yesterday, your Pilgrim paper, that you should have your fact and your illustration, and you're going to do the same thing with Squanto. So you're going to label it Squanto, Squanto, okay? Then you're going to write your fact under it, whatever fact you learned from here, and then you're going to illustrate it, okay? So you can draw whatever picture you want from here. You can go back through the video and pause at your favorite picture and copy it that way, or you can just draw it from memory. That's fine too. Okay, but you got to use crayons or markers or colored pencils. Make it look good, because then you can hang this on your refrigerator for a little Thanksgiving decoration, okay? Or at your Thanksgiving table, you can share some facts that you learned about the Pilgrims and Squanto at Thanksgiving dinner. Your parents or grandparents would love that, I promise. So, Squanto, fact, illustration, and discussion posts. I need to see your work, so make sure you go back and you take a picture and include it on the discussion post, okay? You know how to do that. I got to see your work. And then after you do that, You can hang it on the refrigerator or do whatever you need to do with it to save it for Thanksgiving. All right? I can't wait to see your pictures. I love looking at children's drawings.